Sam Bowie lied about hiding intense pain in his leg during his pre-draft physical, setting the stage for what many call one of basketball's biggest disasters. But here's the truth that most people miss about the man drafted before Michael Jordan. Sam Bowie wasn't just some random failure. He was actually an incredibly talented player who had one of the most impressive college careers of his era. At the University of Kentucky, Bowie put up amazing numbers, averaging 13.4 points, 8.8 rebounds, 2.3 blocks, and 1.4 assists per game during his 3 playing seasons. His performance was so good that he helped lead Kentucky to the Final Four, where he had a strong showing against another future NBA star, Patrick Ewing. What makes Bowie's story even more remarkable is understanding the basketball world of 1984. Back then, the game was completely different from today. The three-point shot was still considered a novelty, and teams built their entire strategy around having a dominant big man in the paint. This wasn't just some random preference. The most successful teams in NBA history had been built around legendary centers like Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Every championship team seemed to have that one transcendent big man who could control both ends of the court. The Portland Trail Blazers had their own proof that this strategy worked. Just 7 years before the 1984 draft, they had won their first and only NBA championship with Bill Walton, a skilled but injury-prone center anchoring their team. This success created a powerful blueprint for the franchise. They knew exactly what a dominant center could do for their organization, and they desperately wanted to find the next Bill Walton. Looking at Portland's roster heading into the 1984 draft, their decision made perfect sense. The Blazers weren't some struggling team picking high in the lottery. Hey, they were actually a winning franchise with a 48-34 record and a roster that many considered just one piece away from championship contention. Their strength was clearly in the backcourt, where they had all-NBA guard Jim Paxson and a highly regarded young shooting guard named Clyde Drexler, who was entering just his second year. With such talent already locked up in the backcourt, adding another guard seemed unnecessary. The Blazers had one glaring weakness that everyone could see. They had no solid big man presence since Bill Walton left the team in 1979. This gap had cost them dearly, including a heartbreaking first-round playoff loss to a team with a dominant center. The message was clear: they needed a defensive rim protector who could also score down low. Given their backcourt depth and their obvious need for a center, drafting a big man seemed like a complete no-brainer at the time. When draft day arrived, everyone expected the Houston Rockets to take Hakeem Olajuwon first overall, which they did. Among the remaining big men available, Sam Bowie had the best college statistics and the most impressive recent performance. His Final Four showing had convinced many scouts that he was ready to make an immediate impact at the professional level. Meanwhile, Michael Jordan was viewed very differently than how we see him today. Most scouts, including Bulls general manager Rod Thorne, saw Jordan as a very good offensive player and exceptional athlete, but not a generational talent who could single-handedly turn a franchise around. The narrative around Jordan didn't really change until after his performance at the 1984 Olympics, which happened after the draft had already concluded. Now here's where Bowie's story becomes truly human and complex. If you've made it this far, you're clearly interested in the deeper story behind one of basketball's most misunderstood players. Make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think about the pressure young athletes face during the draft process, because Bowie's next decision shows just how intense that pressure can be. During his college career, Bowie had suffered a stress fracture in his left tibia late in his sophomore season. This injury was initially misdiagnosed as shin splints, and Bowie tried to play through the pain before X-rays revealed the true severity of the damage. The stress fracture forced him to miss 2 complete seasons, 1981-82 and 1982-83. Even after 44 weeks in a cast, the injury didn't heal properly and eventually required surgical repair with a bone graft. Despite this extensive injury history, Bowie made an incredible comeback for his senior season. He played in all 34 games, led Kentucky to the Final Four, and earned second-team All-American honors. This comeback showed his tremendous resilience and skill, but it also put him in a tough spot heading into the draft. The pressure to secure a professional contract and the financial security that came with it was enormous, especially for someone who wanted to provide for his family. This pressure led to a moment that would haunt Bowie's career. During his physical examination with the Portland Trail Blazers, team doctors used a mallet to test his left tibia. When they asked if he felt any pain, Bowie lied and said no, even though he later admitted the leg was still hurting deep inside. This wasn't just a simple lie, it was an act of desperation from a young man who knew this might be his only shot at a multi-million-dollar career and financial security for his loved ones. The tragic irony is that Bowie's attempt to appear healthy may have directly contributed to the very injuries that would later define his career. His rookie season in Portland actually started brilliantly, validating the Blazers' decision at the time. He played in 76 games, earned a spot on the NBA All-Rookie team, and averaged solid numbers with 10.0 points, 8.6 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game. But then the injuries returned with a vengeance. In his second season, his left tibia snapped during a game. The following year brought a season-ending fracture of his right tibia, followed by a hairline fracture in that same leg. These devastating injuries limited him to just 63 games over his final 4 seasons in Portland, creating the narrative that he was a complete bust. However, this is where Bowie's story takes a remarkable turn that most people never hear about. In 1989, he was traded to the New Jersey Nets, and this change of scenery transformed his career. With a fresh start and better injury management, Bowie experienced a period of remarkable health and productivity that completely challenges the bust narrative. During the 1991-92 season with the Nets, Bowie played 71 games and averaged a career-high 15.0 points, 8.1 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks per game. The following season, he played in 79 games, further proving that when his body cooperated, he was a highly capable and productive starting center. These numbers show a completely different side of his career that gets overshadowed by his Portland struggles. Looking at Bowie's complete statistical picture reveals the truth about his abilities. Over his entire 10-season NBA career, he averaged respectable numbers of 10.9 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks per game. These aren't the statistics of a failed player. They're the numbers of a solid contributor who had his most productive years after leaving Portland. The real tragedy of Bowie's legacy isn't that he was a bad player. It's that his story became defined entirely by the astronomical success of Michael Jordan, the player drafted immediately after him. If the Chicago Bulls had selected a solid but unspectacular player with the third pick, Bowie would likely be remembered as a talented center who simply had bad luck with injuries in his early career. This comparison problem becomes even more unfair when you consider that Jordan's success fundamentally changed basketball forever. His revolutionary impact increased the value of perimeter players and made the old center-first philosophy look outdated. Bowie was essentially judged by standards that didn't even exist when he was drafted. What makes this story even more interesting is that Bowie's case isn't unique in Portland's history. The Trailblazers have a troubling pattern of drafting physically risky big men who suffered devastating injuries. Bill Walton, despite his Hall of Fame career, had multiple foot and ankle fractures that limited him to just 209 games with Portland. Decades later, they repeated the same mistake by drafting Greg Oden first overall in 2007, passing on Kevin Durant. Oden had pre-draft injury concerns including microfracture surgery and one leg shorter than the other, and he managed just 82 games with Portland due to recurring knee problems. This pattern suggests the problem wasn't just Bowie's deception or bad luck. There may have been systemic issues with Portland's medical evaluation process, training methods, or scouting philosophy that consistently undervalued long-term health concerns in favor of raw talent and potential. Despite all the criticism and the bust label that followed him, Bowie himself has found peace with his career and his life. He's expressed some regret about rushing back from injuries too quickly, but he maintains a broader perspective on what really matters. He feels the bust label is unfair given his 10-year career longevity and the physical toll his body endured throughout his playing days. The real lesson from Sam Bowie's story isn't about failure or missed opportunities. It's about the complexity of human decisions made under intense pressure, it's the unpredictability of injuries in sports, and how success gets measured in professional athletics. Bowie carved out a respectable NBA career despite facing obstacles that would have ended many other players' dreams entirely. His legacy deserves to be more nuanced than a simple what-if scenario. Sam Bowie was a talented basketball player who overcame significant adversity, found success when healthy, and showed remarkable resilience throughout a decade-long professional career. Sometimes the most important victories aren't the ones that make headlines, but the ones that show the strength of human character. If this story changed how you think about so-called draft busts and the pressure athletes face, make sure to subscribe for more untold stories from basketball history. What do you think about how we judge players' careers? Let me know in the comments below.